Now for global business updates, Bosin Omofaye joins us. Good morning, Bosin.
Yeah, good morning. Got a great time to be with the rest of the team. Good morning. The great TMS team.
Good to be.
It's good to be there. Yeah. Morning. Looking businesslike.
Thank you.
And a board team. I like the board.
Thank you. We're ready for business.
Yes, we're ready for business. It's always business time here on our Rise News and on TMS. Oil prices ease slightly Tuesday as traders gauge the potential for supply disruptions after U.S. guidance for vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz kept attention squarely on tensions between Washington and Tehran. Brent crude oil was down 0.32% at $82 a barrel by 0612 GMT. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude fell 0.42% to $64.09. And on Market Street, Japan's Nikkei 225 continued its post-election rally and reached new highs on Tuesday amid gains in the broader Asian market. The Japanese market continues to ride the Takaichi trade in the wake of Prime Minister Senator Takaichi's landslide victory in the lower house. The Nikkei 225 rose 2.39% within striking distance of the 58,000 mark. South Korea's Kospi rose 0.59%, pairing some gains. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index was up 0.52%. Australia's S&P 500 dropped 0.03%. Now, Taiwan has told Washington that its proposal to move 40% of its island's semiconductor supply chain to the United States was, quote-unquote, impossible, the country's top tariff trade negotiator said in an interview. Speaking on a local television broadcast on Sunday, Vice Premier Cheng Li-chun said she had made it clear to Washington that the country's semiconductor ecosystem built over decades could not be relocated. The comments pushed back against onshoring targets outlined by U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick in an interview in January, shortly after the latest U.S.-Taiwan trade agreement. Lutnick said he wanted 40% of Taiwan's entire chip supply chain to shift to the U.S. within President Donald Trump's ongoing term. And Chinese automaker BYD has filed a lawsuit against the U.S. government challenging President Trump's bid to use sweeping authority to impose tariffs after requesting a refund for all levies it paid since last April, court documents revealed. The lawsuit, the first by a Chinese car maker over U.S. tariffs, follows similar complaints by thousands of global companies with U.S. operations challenging Trump's use of the International Energy Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, to impose border taxes. In the lawsuit filed at the U.S. Court of International Trade on January 26, 4 of BYD's U.S. subsidiaries argue that the law does not authorize border taxes as the text of IEEPA does not employ the word tariff or any term of equivalent meaning. End of quote. And the U.S. Federal Reserve Governor Stephen Miran on Monday argued that Trump's administration's policy of trade tariffs has proved more benign than many had feared, in comments that argued that foreigners and their firms are the ones primarily paying for the tax hikes rather than Americans. The comments by Miran, who was appointed by President Trump last year to fill an unexpected vacancy on the first board of governors, appeared to contradict data showing that Americans bear the burden of paying for tariffs. Miran also disputed a widespread view in the economics community that tariffs are paid for by American citizens in the form of higher prices rather than the exporting nations by way of lower profit margins. And now the governor of Nigeria's central bank, Olayemi Cardoso, yesterday said the Apex Bank's reforms introduced on his assumption of office have established economic stability. The central bank governor said for a long time the economy had not achieved the remarkable performance as currently witnessed. Cardoso said a $3.42 billion balance of payment surplus recorded in the third quarter of 2025 represented a significant improvement, while inflation has moderated significantly to 15.15%. He said the banking sector remained sound while external reserves have grown to $49 billion as of the 5th of February 2026. And back to the TMS team.
Amazing one, Bosun. I mean, yes, some arguments can be made for reforms and all of that. But also a lot of people argue that with this reform, there's a mismatch as regards the business angle. So inflation moderates to about 15%. But what is interest rate like? You're still keeping them
27?
27. You're still
official.
Official.
Central bank rate.
Yeah, so you're still keeping them very high. What's the outlook on businesses? Isn't interest rates supposed to follow inflation, a torrent of inflation? So what are you still scared about in the market?
The fiscal space.
The fiscal space. So it shows that something is amiss. this idea of piling up reserves. Yes, good idea, 49 billion reserves. But at the same time, it's an economy where you still have to borrow a lot. What's the capital spend on the economy? You cannot get effective spending on your budgetary cycle. But you're piling up 49 billion in reserves. You are taking budget cycle from 1 year into another year. 2 budget cycles running concurrently. Right? Yes, FX gap narrowing 2%. Also, let's not forget that the dollar is also weakening. Yeah, you see as regards that there's a spread. But at some point, interventions have still been done in this market. Bank recapitalization, yes, some banks are fitting through that recapitalization. You're targeting a 1 trillion economy. The viability of that, the economy will have to grow astronomically to be able to get that 1 trillion economy that they keep saying in 2030.
Suggesting 12% annually.
And you know that brings inflation.
The central bank, of course, gave something for the politicians and the fiscal authorities to chew last night.
Okay.
Okay, so Japan, Prime Minister pushing for economic growth, but I just want to talk about one aspect of it which ties into immigration, the conservative base, their response to immigration and how that might affect economic growth in Japan. The first thing is that we've often talked about the the aging population in the country and the fact that the workforce is currently facing that pressure. Now, what has been called for, what could potentially help that would be having foreigners come in. And if you recall the visit to Japan by Nigeria where they said they designated a sport and it was an uproar, it demonstrated, last year, the intolerance of the Japanese people to having more immigrants, which is supposed to be, addressed, to be able to address the challenges they have in this area. They have an aging population. It's reduced the workforce numbers. It means that people, they have less workers in the construction, care, agriculture, hospitality industry. It means less output. It means weaker growth. So Takaichi has to appeal to her conservative base in the area of immigration, but they might also have to face the reality of the fact that they might need to relax their rules.
They need to open up.
Yeah, they need to open up in order to get more people to work. So it's a tightrope situation, but hopefully she'll be able to navigate it and still keep her base happy and the economy, thriving.
Okay, very quickly. The snap election called by Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi of Japan was a gamble that paid off. First female Prime Minister of Japan, and then she scored 68% of the total votes cast, and also did much better than her predecessor, who lost the elections in the lower house and the upper house. Oh, they lost majority, and of course that was how she came to power. But the thing now is, what will she do with the mandate? How long will this Takaichi trade, as you called it, how long will it last? Will it be a temporary boost, in the Nikkei 225 and in the Asian markets generally? Because she faces challenges. One, how to balance the relationship between US and China. Both big shots. She's the largest, Japan trades with China. They have diplomatic tensions over the Taiwan territory. And then, of course, you have US with tariffs. Now she's promising easing taxes. We should fund it. She's going to boost defense spending. She's also promising that she will spend more in terms of energy and pursue the framework that, our government established. So all of these issues, will be critical issues. So for how long will this last?
Election promises are over.
Quickly to the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is a major trade route. 1.3 million barrels of crude oil per day, responsible for, not to talk of other aspects of trade. Now, the elevation of the tension between the US and Iran, and also Israel on the side, could, in fact, take the crude oil prices forward, affect global trade, affect the value chain. And that is why the Americans have said US flagged vessels should move away, as far away as possible from Iranian waters and move closer to the Omani side. Netanyahu and President Trump, they are going to meet tomorrow in Washington, D.C. So the fear is about the implications of this tension over nuclear missiles, over the right of Iran to develop nuclear powers, and the implications for global trade. So it's a developing story, but we'll see. Of course, if crude oil prices go up, maybe some other countries will benefit.
And if Nigeria produces
But
more,
as for Nigeria,
the report from OPEC,
unless we address the challenge of productivity,
yes,
we will just be putting...
Our output for January, according to OPEC yesterday, was down in January. And that was no good news.
So it's about productivity, generally, not just in crude oil.